Hey, deserving listeners, Ultimatum Queer Love Season 2 on Netflix in the middle of 2025. I'm in Seattle. You're somewhere else. Let's watch.
But that's what happens when you play with fire.
I mean, okay. Well, sex positivity, and at first I thought it was part of the song, but the reverb was off, so I thought, oh, we're actually hearing over the song the cries of passion, the moans of passion, and okay, and at least the way it's edited, which who knows, it is at least implied that it is Dana and Mel. And yeah, I could imagine that that's happening. They're really hitting it off. And they just showed the two of them making out on the couch and retreating to the bedroom. We don't have a bedroom cam, so, which is, there's a lot to say. When I talked about this during the last one, but on one hand, sex positivity, and there's an assumption that it's voyeuristic and non-consensual to the cast members, but we don't know. It's possible that the cast members are totally fine with all that is being displayed. It's even possible that some of them want it to be out there for a variety of reasons. So we just don't know. So if they were to come forward and say that they were deceived somehow about what would be included, or that they had no choice in the matter, but from my understanding, I think from statements from the cast and from production that they do have a choice. They do have a choice about what is included, even though there is a camera there. But hopefully they have a choice to turn off the camera, because if they want to have some privacy, then they deserve that, right? And I don't think any of us, of the viewers, would want them to feel that way. So why would production do that anyway? But so there's that. There's also the line of thinking, or the theme of how lesbian sex is often held up for the male gaze in our society as put out there for men to enjoy, so to speak. And so the question is, would they be doing this if it was a different sort of show, right? If it wasn't about lesbians. You could imagine, because of marketing and capitalism and trying to appeal to mainstream really world, because this show is watched worldwide, would they be doing this if it were gay men? Because there's a lot more phobia around that, and bigotry. I mean, it's certainly bigotry against lesbians, but all that is still at play. To me, at the core is, on one hand, sex positivity and its healthy, consensual sex and queer sex. So the world needs more depictions of that. And on the other side of the coin, are the cast members given enough agency to make choices about what is filmed and to what's being included in the show?
I obviously feel terrible about how things happened, and I'm sorry I made you uncomfortable.
Okay, so Kyle and Pilar are having another conversation. This is starting out great. Pilar is leading with some reflection and some calming down and differentiation. Pilar, I think, is seeing at least one core that needs to be established, is that Pilar did make Kyle uncomfortable and wasn't responsive to Kyle's communication about boundaries, and that she's sorry for that. So that's great.
Where I'm frustrated and hurt is I'm owning up to my actions. You're not taking accountability for any of your actions, and that's where I'm just.
Okay, so Pilar is saying, now that I've taken responsibility, I need you to. But that's not what she says. What she's saying is, you are not taking responsibility. I wonder what actions she wants Kyle to take responsibility for. I mean, we've heard hints, but I'm really curious as to what exactly it is. I think what Pilar would say is you're withholding or you're not putting any effort, I think.
Yeah.
Just hurt. No,
No, I hear you.
Oh, and that Kyle accused her of playing games,
And I understand. And I do take accountability for what happened, giving mixed signals and stuff that, like, wasn't you, you know?
Okay, good. I mean, good that they're having that conversation, but also I'm personally satisfied because I've only felt mildly confident that I understood what they were talking about, and this was one of the things I thought they were talking about. So I'm feeling satisfied in that way. So the first thing that Kyle comes forward is the bigger picture is I've been giving mixed signals regarding being open or not to physical affection or romance or sex or moving forward or doing a real trial marriage. So I've been giving mixed signals of stuff, and that wasn't you. That's me. Okay, so that's good.
I thought I was communicating like this whole time and
Yeah.
like making sure that we were all on the same page. And I think, things are getting misinterpreted along the way. I'm sorry. I was really hurt that you thought I was like playing the game. I've been with one person. You feel like I'm some player or something.
Okay, so that is what they were talking about in the previous fight. That because I was thinking, well, wouldn't it be that Kyle was leading Pilar on because Kyle is the one that's more reticent or withholding or something, reserved? But so it sounds like it's established and had been established prior to that conversation that we saw that Kyle was not opening up because she was worried that Pilar was just playing that's interesting. So that and Pilar is good to point that out. I've been with one person for 10 years. How can I be a player? Now, being a player is an attitude or an intention, I suppose, love bombing or being overly affectionate and I love you. I don't want to be with anyone else. And then you have sex and then she leaves the next day. So, it's a cartoon version, but, the dogs are barking. So it sounds like they had a previous conversation in which Kyle had communicated, are you actually into me or are you just wanting to use me and you're saying all these nice things just to get in my pants or something? And so that leading me on. Interesting. But you're in a trial marriage. You live together. So what is the accusation that Kyle is saying, I don't understand your intentions. Why are you acting like you're my wife? I mean, emotionally it makes sense, right? But the format of the show, right? It makes sense that Pilar would at least assume there's some openness to progressing the relationship, not necessarily physically, of course, there's a conversation, but that Kyle would say, I would be really curious as to what Kyle was worried about, because it's pretty clear that this is a trial marriage and it's not likely to last beyond the time, right? So was Kyle thinking, I think you're just saying that and getting me to open up, and then you're just going to leave me at the end of these 3 weeks, and then I'm going to have my heart broken? I mean, I think that's essentially. But at any rate, they're having a conversation, and I don't need to know what's happening, and I don't need to approve because it doesn't matter what I think.
One person, you feel like I'm some player or something. This is just me just showing up like as a partner.
I fucked up in that way, and I'm sorry. I see you for who you are, and I think you're a really good person. I've been like a shitty partner.
Okay, so I can't imagine it having gone better than this, really. And okay, so this is very healthy, and we can learn from this in that they revisited it, and they thought about it, and in this second conversation, they're only talking about how they made a mistake. Pilar is saying, I made a mistake and I'm sorry. And now Kyle is saying, I made a mistake and I'm sorry. So that's great. Maybe they will recover from this.
Conflict is like, I'm realizing, hard for me, or like healthy conflict.
Yeah, you're very jabby, which I
know.
didn't expect
I'm
from
sorry.
you.
Yeah, I didn't expect it either, but people don't always fit into neat stereotypes. You know, Kyle seemed like an easygoing, nice person, but then became jabby. I think meaning that she took jabs, right? And then Kyle saying, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, that's all.
You're this like docile, gentle giant that can cut out of nowhere. I'm like, where did that come from?
I know. Growing up with sisters who were really mean, that's like in my family, we didn't like work things out ever. Things were either just fine or we would get in like little fights and just like cut each other.
Okay, so interesting. Yeah. Yeah. To some extent, it becomes normalized, right? It's like, well, this is what you do. And also, you feel like you have to do it to protect yourself and have stuff at the ready.
Just like I really appreciate the way that you're able to like express yourself and also take the higher road. That's really inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah. I feel like you still like, sorry, I don't know why I'm getting emotional.
So it's good. Kyle's complimenting Pilar on taking the higher road, I think referring to not being jabby and taking responsibility while also pushing and trying to bridge the gap by suggesting that Kyle also follow suit, you know, with healthy communication. And it sounds like for Kyle, that's not typical to her. You know, given the way that Bridget was going after AJ during the choice scene, which, you know, may have been justified, especially after learning that AJ, the way, or observing the way AJ was treating Marie, it all could have been an act now looking back. But anyway, but at the very least, Bridget is quick or is comfortable with that kind of conflict. And Kyle has said so as much about Bridget. It's possible that Kyle and Bridget don't have that kind of communication. I don't know. I mean, at least the way Kyle is reacting, it seems like it's not typical for her to have someone with her that has that healthy communication. The way that that's the way I think Kyle is talking, and then she starts to cry. So I wonder what that's about. I wonder. Crying is great. I think it is weird if you don't cry at least once a day about something or tear up about something. I mean, we hopefully laugh every day and we hopefully cry every day. We hopefully feel, when we feel injustice, we feel at least a little bit of anger. You know, all these emotions are great. So now crying can be a lot of different things. It can be sadness. It can be pride. It can be grief. It can be inspiration, you know. But so I guess the question is, what are her tears about in this moment? She's on the heels of saying, you are taking the high road, and I'm grateful for that. So maybe guilt of like, oh, I didn't take the high road. I took jabs. And that's why we cry. That's why we cry. I'm quite sure that we can't ever know, but I'm quite sure we evolved to cry, and we're one of perhaps the only, if not one of the only species to cry, that we cry as a signal to others that we're suffering and we need help. Whether it's a rock fell on our foot, or we feel lonely and rejected or bad about ourselves, and it motivates others through our empathy. So not only did we evolve to cry under those circumstances, but we also evolved to respond to crying in that way, whether it's an infant or an adult. So Pilar listened to her empathy, her body, and reached out. So this is what makes the world go round. This is what makes attachment happen. This is what facilitates all of human kindness and love and bonding and cooperation is I'm hurt, I feel bad, cry, involuntary. She's like, I don't know why I'm being emotional. It happened in spite of her, right? And then that gives an opportunity for warmth and togetherness and repair.
I just really appreciate, I know we don't know each other that well, but the fact that you see me and don't think I'm a bad person or something.
No, exactly. You're such, I keep telling that. That's why I keep telling you this. I mean when I said I think you're so beautiful inside and out.
Oof. That hurt. That hits. So Kyle's crying also, or because of, oh my God, through this conflict, vulnerability has occurred. And so it's interesting. Yeah, I was wondering about that whole narrative around leading Kyle on. When Kyle's the one that's doing the pulling back, right? And I was wondering if Kyle thought, why does she love me? Why is she liking me? That's not normal because I'm not good enough or something. And this seems to be kind of I don't know if these things are, I don't even know if I'm understanding what she's saying, but she's saying you are seeing my vulnerability and you don't think I'm a bad person. I think that says a lot about Kyle's reservedness, right? I think.
Bring that out of you so that it's like you are so sure of who you are, that whatever you're going through, you can be confident that your person will always choose you and you're human, and that's what love and marriage is about.
Yeah.
You don't have to be scared of changing something in who you are because you're scared that that person's going to leave and think you're a bad person. And if they think that, then...
And then, of course, when it comes to bigotry against queer people, lesbians, against non-binary people, you are told and given a lot of messages that you are a bad person, that you aren't worthy, down to your core. Not just that you did something bad or your fashion is bad, but the core of your identity, the core of who you are is wrong, is bad, is evil, maybe sinning, is confused or something. And what Kyle is expressing right now could absolutely be 100% due to that oppression. And it's almost, I'm guessing, universal that if you are of a marginalized group, then it's impossible not to internalize those messages. I, as a kid, as an Asian, half Asian kid, I would sit in front of the TV and I would hold my nose. I've heard other Asians doing this, by the way. I would hold my nose I would try to pull it out because especially when I was a kid, I had a very small Asian nose. And I wanted it to be big and pointy like a white person because I had been given the message that I was not good enough because of my race. And I thought in my 7-year-old self that if I had a different nose or could get to pass as a white person, then I would be a good enough person. Now, for some of you, you might be thinking, I didn't even know he was Asian. He absolutely does pass as a white person. Well, maybe, but in the 70s and 80s, in the all-white community that I was in Sammamish, Washington, which is just a little bit outside of Seattle, if you weren't, 100% white, then it was very noticeable. And I was constantly being told that I was different and being asked, where are you from, and all that kind of shit. Do you know Kung Fu? And so, well, sometimes that would benefit. Some people wouldn't mess with me because they figured I knew Kung Fu or karate and I would kick their ass. And I didn't. So sometimes there's a silver lining. But anyway, point is that the racism that I experienced, I'll just say, pales in comparison to the level of oppression and marginalization and dehumanization and literally trying to snuff your existence out of our society, that queer, lesbian, non-binary people and women. Now, it's also possible that Kyle is expressing, the very least, a lot of pain regarding the way she was raised as well. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. So just throwing that out there as a possible. I don't know where it's coming from, but at the very least, we're learning that Kyle it sounds like Kyle kind of knows from previous experience that she has a general assumption or worry that people will see her as a bad person. And so she's expressing that it feels good that you don't think I'm a bad person, which is very heartwarming.
They're not your person.
Yeah. Pilar has made me feel safe when we're dealing with a conflict like that. I haven't really had that before. Yeah, I don't know, it meant a lot to me.
I haven't had that before. What is that? At the very least, from Kyle's perspective, what does that say about Bridget? But let's rewind that.
You are because you're scared that that person's going to leave and think you're a bad person. And if they think that, then they're not your person.
Yeah. Pilar has made me feel safe when we're dealing with a conflict like that. I haven't really had that before.
Now, that was edited, so could be shenanigans. The camera didn't stay on Kyle throughout that whole series of sentences. Pilar made me feel safe during conflict, and then cut to drone shot. I haven't had that before, so who knows? But from the edit, it sounds like Kyle is communicating that she's never had that, and that she believes. Now, maybe Bridget would say otherwise, but in this moment, that Bridget has never made her feel safe in conflict the way that Pilar has. So with the clarification aspects of this ultimatum experience, even the ultimatum givers, like Kyle, might have clarification about maybe I don't want to marry Bridget.
Yeah, I don't know, it meant a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, it just breaks my heart. It makes me want to cry. Just knowing all the life that Kyle has lived and how, at least in her mind right now, she's never received the kind of safety that she feels in conflict that she has with Pilar. And the kind of safety, Pilar's being very healthy and being very kind and reaching out. But I wouldn't say what is happening is like strange, but for Kyle, it is strange. She's saying for the first time. And I think Kyle's also referring not to just this conversation, but her entire experience with Pilar, just all these different ins and outs, which really explains Kyle's reservedness of like, I don't want to open up because I'm going to get hurt because I'm a bad person. And wow, yeah. Well, now I'm worried that Kyle will open up and Pilar and Kyle will get together, and then Pilar is more seeing this as a hall pass, whereas Kyle might be like, oh my God, I finally feel safe and I want more of this. Then Pilar isn't with Kyle in the future, and then Kyle is abandoned. Right? It's possible that Pilar and Kyle will stay together, but it's not likely, right? I don't know. I guess I'm just worried about Kyle overall, because even if that doesn't happen, it sounds like Kyle has a lot of pain and attacks on who she is from somewhere to make her feel that way about herself. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please, seriously, take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.